so it's 6 of us, I guess. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7. All righty. So we'll call the meeting to order, effectively call it to order at this particular point. And first on the order is welcome and introductions. And I'm Pastor May, River of the Desert Community Church, one of your co-chairs. And we'll go around, I guess, with those that are visible, and then we'll get the online person. Thea, would you?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Thea Agnew-Benben, one of the co-chairs of the committee. And I could just read through the folks who are online. Do you want me to do that, Pastor May?
If you like, I acknowledged them a second ago, but if you like, we've had some come on since. Go ahead.
Let's see, Jasmine?
I'm here, Deputy
Good.
Clerk and staff to this committee.
Great. Asher?
Hey guys, this is Asher Harley representing Congregation Beth Shalom.
And Junior?
Junior Almabai, Chief Equity Officer for the municipality.
Great. And Celeste?
Hi, everybody. Celeste with the Alaska Black Caucus.
Great. Allie?
Hello, sorry, my phone was not working. Allie Hartman with Legislative Services.
Great. And Heather?
Heather Ireland with Anchorage School-Based Health Centers.
Great. Matthew?
Sorry, Matthew's a really common name, so I assume you mean me. Matthew Hurd,
Yep.
Legislative Counsel to the Assembly.
Great. Thank you. Joan?
Hi, Joan Ryan with Enlaces on the Healthy and Equitable Communities Unit at the State of Alaska.
Pastor Mays introduced himself. Felix?
Hi, everyone. Felix Rivera, Anchorage Assembly.
Great. And Taylor?
Hi, everyone. Taylor Donovan with Rural Cap.
Great. And I'm going to be taking notes at our meeting tonight, just so you all know what I'm doing. Okay, back to you, Pastor May.
All righty. Thank you so much. Thank all of you guys for participating in the intros and what have you. And forgive me, but I'm familiarizing myself on the fly with teams. So yeah, there's that. All righty. We have the land and labor acknowledgement. Asher is scheduled for that today.
All right. So we acknowledge that we gather here virtually today on the traditional lands of the Dena'ina people of Upper Cook Inlet. For thousands of years, the Dena'ina people have been and continue to be the stewards of this land. This committee is committed to diversity and inclusion, and it is with honor and respect that we recognize all Indigenous people who live and learn in our community.
All righty. Thank you, Asher, for that. And so with that, we'll move on to unfinished business. And under unfinished business, we have to discuss a date for our committee work session in January. And so I guess first off on that work session, Ms. Thea, are you guys willing to host that again, or do we need to locate the place to meet?
First off, did somebody just put together mode on? Can we remove that? Like distracting me.
You say together mode?
There's like can you see the thing where it looks like we're sitting in benches together?
Oh, no.
Or did I do that?
I don't see that.
Okie doke. Maybe it's me. Can other people see that?
No, I don't see that.
Anyway.
No, I didn't see it either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at Joan's background, and I'm glad I didn't choose that one because it looked like we were the same place.
Yeah, I know. It's like tripping me out. Anyway, we are happy to, so for those of you who weren't with us last time we had a work session, which was, my goodness, anybody remember when it was?
I don't know. Was it in May of 22?
Yeah, it was definitely a while ago.
Sure. Yeah.
We met at my office, which is just right around the corner from City Hall. And we have a conference room with a big Zoom setup, so it's easy for people to Zoom in, but it's also a nice place to gather. The downside, though, is that it is not ADA accessible, and that was a real problem last time. So I actually wonder whether, what does the committee think? Would it be better actually just to meet in room 155 if we can get that room?
All right. And my thought on that is, if that was possible, that would be awesome. But would that work on a Saturday? It's like when we normally had the last one. Or would we want to change days?
Yeah, I guess that's a good question too. Is it better to do it on the weekend like we did last time, or is it better for people to do it in the evening?
So I've got my hand up here. But this is Celeste, and I'm just wondering, I think that if we do it during the workday, we're going to lose community folks because a lot can't participate during the day because they work. So depending on what the outcome is that we're trying to achieve. And the other thing is, I was wondering if there might be an opportunity to host it maybe in the mayor's conference room if it were to be held at City Hall. And Junior's not here, so just a thought. Thanks.
I think Junior is here actually. And Celeste, I was suggesting either a weekend or an evening. Do you have a preference between those two?
I think the weekend would be better, unfortunately.
Yeah, we had a I guess a full day session the last one, so weekend probably would be more productive. And what conference room was that?
I was wondering if Junior might be able to get the mayor's conference room. They have technology and all of that other stuff up there. Plus they have plenty of space and parking.
Okay. And you know, the is that a different locale from where we normally meet in 155?
That would be Junior's on here, Junior, but it would be on the 8th floor, and the 8th floor.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess according to what Thea was asking a minute ago, maybe we first need to ascertain, and I don't know, Jasmine, if you can weigh in on that. Is the weekend available in our normal meeting area?
I can check up here in the mayor's office if that office is available.
Okay. Well, since you've been asked about it, maybe we'll wait to see what the response is and then go forward. What do the rest of you think? Thea, any thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I'm curious, Jasmine, is the weekend an option for City Hall?
I'll have to double check. I'm actually not sure because I don't know if we have. Member Rivera, do you know if we've had any on the weekend before?
I know I've had meetings at City Hall on the weekend before, but if we're talking about like official committee meetings, no, that's not something that we've done. Doesn't mean we can't.
Okay, but you think like the building would be available potentially on the weekend?
So most of us, either on the assembly or at the clerk's office, would have access, and we would just need to let people in. So there's not public access on the weekend. The only thing is probably staffing. We had to figure that out if we wanted to have a meeting on the weekend.
Okay, and I don't think we had, last time we did public notice it, but I don't think we had any staffing. Does that seem,
Right.
is that correct?
That's pretty much my memory as well. Didn't necessarily have staffing, but we did public notice it, and you guys, well, you were taking notes at the at that particular meeting, Thea.
And Shelley
And
facilitated.
Shelley
Yeah, which was great.
facilitated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't
Okay.
know if we would necessarily have staffing, but we would need access
Yep. And so if we were
and technology.
right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always a little bit of a challenge too. So if we were thinking January, which is what we had said earlier, I'm assuming we'd want to avoid the first weekend because school doesn't get back in session till January 8th this year, so people might still be out of town. So and then we've got Martin Luther King celebration on January 21st and 22nd, is that correct?
14th and 15th.
14th and 15th, okay.
And so 20th.
Oh yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, 20th, 27th, either of those may be the best options.
Yep, that sounds right to me too. So for those present, which of those should we do a show of hands of who January 20th is better for?
Thea,
Either.
okay, I'm sorry, Pastor May, because you're chairing, not you, Thea. Okay,
Yeah,
Pastor
go ahead.
May. So I'm wondering, I know we said we didn't want to do the weekend before MLK, but you know, we always host like the MLK weekend celebration or what. This could actually be linked into an MLK event. So the equity committee hosts their ... I mean, just sharing that. Looks like Thea, I can run the machine if you want me to let people in.
I think Jasmine's doing it actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yep. Celeste, are you thinking then that it would be more of a public, I mean, because I think the idea, you know, it is publicly noticed, so we certainly can invite people to participate and we could set the agenda up for getting more community input if people thought that was a good idea. I mean, I like that idea. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I'll wait for Pastor May because...
Well, I was about to say personally for me, I would not like that weekend because we have a lot, you know, going on and even planning some things leading up to the weekend. And so, and then having that big day on that Sunday, for me, it would not be optimal, but I mean,
Okay.
I would, whatever the group would decide would be, you know, we'd make happen.
But if we went with the 20th, we could still invite people at the Martin Luther King celebrations.
Yeah.
We could publicize it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so are we back to 20th or 27th?
Yep. And anybody else want to weigh in on it? Okay, not hearing anyone. So either one of those two dates work for the majority. Anybody have an issue with the 20th or the 27th? And our regular meeting would be on the 25th. I'm thinking the last Thursday of the month. That would be the 25th for our regular committee meeting. And I guess the close proximity to that could be a plus or a minus. Would you guys want it closer to that or a little sooner? And that would determine whether we did it the 20th or the 27th. Because if we had our regular meeting on the 25th, are you going to want to do a day meeting on the 27th? So the 20th might be most optimal. That's my thinking on it.
Yeah, Jasmine, can you just confirm for January, would our regular meeting be the 18th or the 25th?
Let me double check real quick. Because it'll be the fourth Thursday.
Okay, it looks like it's like on this
The 25th.
this month is the 3rd. Oh, we moved it.
We changed
Okay.
it
Right,
for the
and we
holiday.
changed December also. Got it. Okay, that's why I'm confused. Sorry about that. So yeah, it would be the 25th. So
Yeah,
that could be
which-
nice if we did the work session and then we're able to kind of confirm what we're doing in the next meeting.
So we're thinking the 20th.
Should we wait to see, Junior, do you want to check on both those dates and see if one works better?
I can. In the group chat, that'll be great.
You broke up on part of that. Would you repeat that, Junior?
Yes, if you can send me those dates, that'd be great. I'll check on it.
Okay. All righty. So that would be January 20th and 27th, and see which one works best. All right. Thank you for your willingness to check up on that. And time wise, what are we looking at? How long of a meeting are you guys recommending? Because I think the last meeting, I don't personally recall, I think it was 9 to what, about 2-ish, 2:30?
Yeah,
Yeah,
9 to 2, 10 to 3, something like that.
yeah. So are we looking at somewhat of the same timeline? That would be fine with me, but you guys, what do you think?
I'll come, this is Celeste. I'll come and stay as long as I can. I don't know if I can commit to 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, but even if it was 10 to 2, that'd be like a 4-hour deal with a break for lunch or something like that. Anybody else? Y'all are live the group today. All righty. Okay, we're looking at that. We'll wait to see what dates work best for the building wise with Ms. Domave checking on that. And I think we can think in terms of maybe 10 to 2 on whichever date it is. And that would get us going forward for the January work session. And with the culmination of this fall's I guess budgeting process, one of the main things that we talked about agenda-wise was also looking at the budgeting process and getting in where we fit in with that as part of that work session, if not the main focus. All right. Any question, commentary for that portion? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to new business. You good, Thea? You good?
Yes.
All righty. We'll move on to new business and any new member nominations. All right, not hearing any. Then we'll go to committee updates. Anyone who has events or things that are upcoming that we'd like to share, and we've already talked about, for one, the MLK event that's coming up, the major thing on the 14th, and we're working on something for, I guess it is the 11th as well, and we'll have more information about that. But even prior to that, for those who may have an interest and or desire, the Interdenominational Ministerial Alliance of Anchorage and Vicinity will be hosting a Thanksgiving, pre-Thanksgiving celebration fellowship at the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church on Sunday, this Sunday the 19th at 4 o'clock at Shiloh Church, 855 East 20th. And that's at 4 p.m. All right, anybody else have any updates?
Pastor, maybe probably could go to each person because I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier. I just received word from Teresa Holt that she's traveling and the person from Change Lab is not available. So we actually don't have like our main agenda item, we don't have a person for that. So that's a
okay.
disappointment. Yeah. So we probably have
So-
time for a little bit more from committee members and from assembly members if we want to spend the time there.
Okay. And again, any updates from any committee members?
So I'll go next. This is
Yes.
Celeste. So for MLK, the Alaska Black Caucus is going to be hosting 2 annual events. One is the MLK celebration at East High School on that Monday, the official holiday. And then on Saturday, we're hosting again the Hoops for Unity basketball tournament with kids and cops. So that's going to be on Saturday. I also just want to share too that we were just awarded $500,000 from the MJ Murdoch Trust for renovations to the Equity Center. So we are so close. And I just want to say thank you to all those that have contributed thus far. And we're almost to the finish line. Thanks.
All righty, good news. Thanks. All righty.
And Celeste, just to make sure I got that right, the Hoops for Unity is on January, is it 13th, but before MLK Day?
Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
I keep turning my camera on. I don't want you guys to get frightened. But yeah, it's on the Saturday before, so January the 13th at the Fairview Rec Center.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Celeste.
Good question.
What was that? Go ahead. Somebody have a question? Okay. Now, I think you were mentioning going through the roll, call the names, whatever. What was that? Is in reference to?
Just for any updates, if we wanted to spend a little more time.
Okay. Feel free.
Great. Let's see. I'll just start from the top. Asher, do you have anything you want to share from Beth Shalom?
I've got nothing to share. We just had a cool, it's called Mitzvah Mall, big kind of fundraiser for nonprofits. A bunch of people were there on Saturday. And so that was a pretty cool event, but no, nothing coming up.
Great. That's a great event though. Thanks for sharing about that. Junior, anything you want to share?
No updates.
Okay. Brittany, you joined after we did introductions. So do you want to just introduce yourself and share anything from your organization?
Of course. My name is Brittany Sorrelta. I work for Cook Inlet Tribal Council. The only thing I have to share today, we have hired a housing and homelessness coordinator to work for CITC, and we're in the process of hiring a housing and homelessness manager. So I'll connect you with who those individuals are once we have more information on that.
Great. Do we know your housing and homelessness coordinator, maybe?
I was just looking for their name and I can't find it.
Okay, no worries. Great, thanks for sharing. Okay, Celeste shared. Allie, anything you want to share?
Nothing for my part. Thank you so much for checking in.
Okay, and Heather, school-based health clinics?
Yeah, October was super busy for us. We saw 20% more kids than we normally do. Pretty much all girls volleyball, and definitely seeing an increase in the number of kids that are uninsured, which is concerning but not surprising based on the Medicaid changes in the state. And we thought November would be busy, but when there's not school, it's hard to have school-based healthcare. but I'm sure by the end of the month when basketball starts in the high schools, it'll be a little chaotic. Yeah, I think those are, just in general, I think the district, and other people can speak to this too, but, there's just a lot of upcoming things happening with the district, in terms of next year having 6th graders in middle school where they are not already, and then changing school start times, and then the academy model. And if people aren't familiar with that or haven't heard about that yet, it's worth doing some research on. But I was in a presentation last week with the equity officer with the district, and I really felt good about having her on board, that she's really an advocate to make sure that the changes that are being made are equitable. And so very promising. So that's about all I have.
It's a good point of all those changes. Maybe something the committee could think about is whether we want to request a presentation from the school district about that, maybe in the new year. Matthew, anything you want to share?
No, thank you for asking.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Oh, and Issa, sounds like you're about to welcome a new member of your family, but any updates?
Yeah, I'd just say, yeah, I'll be out for a couple months and I'll return back after I have that baby, and maybe I'll join us online, but I assume at least in January I'll probably be taking a break. Yeah, the only updates I would say is that we just completed a process through CSS where we gave out like an RFA, a request for applications process, to fund service providers for refugees across the city. And I would like to report to this group that one of the things I'm really proud of is that we had some small Ukrainian ethnic-based community organizations that have risen up in the last couple of years, and we were able to fund them for service provision. And that's really important because we believe that in order to become a culturally competent city and provide good culturally competent services, we have to invest in those new ethnic-based community organizations who know how to best serve their communities. And so we were able to fund two organizations, New Chance, Ukrainian Relief, and a group called Project Alaska, in addition to a number of other agencies that got funding, which I'd be happy to share if people are interested. But really, we're excited to expand the network of service providers in the city for refugee populations that are arriving.
And maybe just a follow-on question, how do you advertise your requests for applications?
They were posted on our website. We have a quarterly refugee partners meeting where we told people in advance, this is what's happening. This is how it's going to happen. These are all the areas of which we'll recruit and request applications. We then held a meeting for people that were interested. We ended up giving, I think, awards to about 8 or 9 different organizations. And then individually, we'll also award funding to school districts. We'll be meeting with ASD to award funding to them also. So it's all available on CSS website, though, the public process. And we're closed for this year, but we'll be doing the same thing next year.
Great. That's great. And if you think about it, maybe sharing with this group about your process next year would be cool.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I can just flag when the RFAs go up.
Yeah.
And then people can look into them and see if that's something they're interested in doing.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Joan, anything you want to share?
Not really, just unless it's gonna start hiring our first executive director part-time next year, hopefully January, February. So when that happens, I will send it here. If you know any Latina or Latino that wanna be part of Enlaces, let us know. So basically just that. Thanks.
That's great. Congratulations. Hannah, you're here. Any updates you want to share? We're just doing kind of little more extensive updates because our main agenda item unexpectedly wasn't able to make it. So, Hannah?
Not at this time, but thank you for asking, Thea.
Great. Glad you're here. Pastor May any other updates from you, Pastor May?
I'm good. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, and Felix, we'll come back to you in a second with assembly member updates. Taylor, anything from you?
Yeah, hi everyone. Couple updates from Rural Cap. The first is we've been working with the community through outreach to help those who have been unsheltered for the summer move into shelter. But we continue to kind of work with those still camping to hopefully make it into shelter or expand shelter beds in the future. The other piece we have is that it's a really busy time for all of our housing sites, especially our family housing sites, and we're always looking for groups in the community, often church groups, to kind of adopt one of our sites for meals for the holidays or gifts. And if anyone knows of groups looking to work with those, it's especially it's a great time to bring joy to those who are either living in permanent housing or in some of our transitional housing.
And how would they connect? How would we connect with that opportunity, Taylor?
The best way would be to email me, and I'll put my email in the chat for it.
Great, sounds good. Okay, was there anybody else I missed? Okay, back to you, Pastor May.
All righty, thank you for that, Miss Thea, and thank each of you for your updates. I did notice back to the work session that Heather had put in the chat that she thought it was February because she had missed the ski scout, and I do think it was earlier in the year than May anyway. So I just wanted to lift that flag again. But thank you for all of your input, and Thea, for you going down the line. I see how easy it is to get information out of people when you call them out like that, and I don't know if that's cultural or not, but I would probably, if I was in a regular meeting, I probably would say we go home early. But anyway, thank you guys so much for your input. It was feeding us knowledge. Thank you. All right, we'll move to the assembly. Any assembly updates? And I know we've got Mr. Rivera
Sure.
in.
I can provide an
Yeah.
update.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So I'll provide two updates, one on snow plowing and then actually three. One on snow plowing, one on the budget, and then one on homelessness. And then if folks have questions on anything else or on those topics, feel free to ask. So I'll start with snow plowing. Just say right off the bat that the situation that we have found ourselves in the last couple of weeks has been totally unacceptable. And the Assembly is certainly doing everything that we can within our frame of policy and budget to do what we can to rectify this situation. So we did add some additional funding for snow plowing in spring when we did our first quarter budget revisions. And then in November, it's not going to help any in the interim, but in November, we're also looking at adding some additional funding for snow plowing when we take up the budget. That won't go into effect until January. And then we've also been advocating to the mayor to open up the contract and do a wage reopener for the operators union, which the operators union, they're the ones that have our snowplow operators in that bargaining unit. I don't know if folks know, but if you do sort of a comparative analysis of how much we pay our operators versus how much the state pays their operators, the airport pays their operators, and private contractors pay their operators, we're like on the lowest rung, right? So it's not too much of a surprise when folks leave to go to other more high-paying jobs. Aside from that, the Assembly is going to be having a special meeting of the Enterprise and Utilities Committee, which is the that particular committee has maintenance and operations and street maintenance, which has snow plowing responsibilities under them. They provide oversight for that particular division. So that meeting will be in early December, and essentially that meeting is going to be about what the heck happened, which not too new or surprising because we did the same thing last year after the snowstorms in December. we had the same kind of gathering of what the heck happened and how we're not going to do it again. Unfortunate that we're finding ourselves in the same situation, but we're going to repeat that and hope that we can literally dig ourselves out of this hole. Moving on to the budget. So the Assembly is going to be voting on the budget on November 21st, so next Tuesday. We're going to have a public hearing on the 4 items on the budget. So it's going to be a third public hearing: the general operating budget, the capital budget, and then the utilities budget, and then the 5-year capital plan. So if anyone's interested in providing comments on those are welcome. There are a lot of different amendments that are going to be before the Assembly, from homelessness to housing to transit to all different kinds of things that we are looking to add funding for in the budget during the November 21st meeting. So I will encourage folks to take a look at all of the amendments that the Assembly is considering. They're on our Assembly website, and then provide any comments that you have either at the public hearing on the 21st or by email in advance of that. Then third thing I'll talk about is homelessness. So the Assembly took a vote on Tuesday to add an additional 50 beds to the congregate facility at the old SWS administration building. So that brings it up to 200 beds there. Excuse me. And we've also been urging the administration to set up a warming center sooner rather than later. Frankly, I've told the administration get one set up by tomorrow or by this weekend at the latest. And the administration has told us that the soonest they'd likely be able to get something up is by December 1st. So I continue to push the administration to do something sooner than that. Because we're getting our first real cold weather this winter this weekend, and I just want to make sure that folks have a warm place to go who are unsheltered right now for whatever reason. Other than that, I think things are going smoothly for emergency cold weather shelter. We will have discussions if we need to bring up online any new shelter beds once these additional 50 shelters have come online, and we get a sense of the utilization of those beds, and then that'll give us a picture of if we need to bring online more beds or how we want to change our plan and change our strategy. So that'll probably be a discussion we have in short order. And again, looking forward to whatever plans the administration has to address those needs. I guess one really quick last thing is I will invite members of this committee to provide any feedback that you might have on the Housing Action Strategic Plan. So for folks who came to any of the events, we had a really great Housing Action Week and a Housing Action Summit. And one of the things that we spent a good amount of time on in the summit was the Housing Action Strategic Plan. Where the comments on that plan are due December 4th, and then we're going to be voting on the plan sometime in December, probably the second meeting in December. So if you want to look at the plan and provide comments, it's anchoragehousingaction.org is the website. That's it.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Felix, for those updates, and well needed. And certainly with the pushing that's relative to the warming centers. I had a question relative to those warming centers, and basically it sounds like it's just a place where folk can get in out of the cold and warm up for a bit or whatever. It's not a place where they would stay for any length of time, just come in out of the cold for a bit, and how does that work?
Yeah, thanks. So you are correct that it is not a shelter, right? So it is not a place for folks to sleep, but it is a place for folks to get warm, to get food. There will be meals, at least as planned. There will be meals served at the one location that the administration is looking at in Fairview, and then to get connection to services. So I believe the potential operator wants to have case management and other services there. So do some of the things that a shelter might normally do, but not it's not going to be a shelter. It's going to be a place for folks to come in, stay warm during the hours that they are open. And I'm not exactly sure what those hours may be, but they're not going to be able to sleep there.
Okay. And one other follow-up relative to the budgeting and the vote said November 21st, the Assembly is going to vote on the budget. And I guess the next opportunity to get in would be in the spring budgeting movement, the reset.
If you're
or
talking
whatever.
about specific funding for this committee, yes, it would be in the spring when we do our first quarter budget revisions in April.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because part of our work session is dealing with where we could get in as far as the budgeting process goes. All righty. Anybody have questions for Mr. Rivera? Questions, commentary?
There are a few hands up right now.
Yes. All righty. Let's see here. Miss Issa.
I think Celeste was in front of me, so I'll let her go first.
Okay. All righty.
Yeah, Pastor May, I don't know if you can see, but they have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, so you can see who raised their hand first.
Okay, as I forestated, I'm getting familiar with teams on the fly. All right, let me get the whole view here and get the. Okay. All righty, Celeste.
All right, thank you. So just going back quickly to the warming station, as we all know, temperatures are supposed to drop to like single digits this weekend. And so I'm just wondering if there's any reason why we're not able to get those warming stations. Did they justify why that's not going to be able to happen till sometime in December?
Yeah, thanks. So from what the administration said, they would need some time for the operator, one, to bring forward a contract to the Assembly for approval, and then two, for the operator to get something stood up. As I said, I have urged the administration to move faster, and I've told the administration if that means they need to declare a civil emergency to move faster, that they should do that. I don't know if they will. They haven't gotten back to me yet if they will or not.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And quickly, I just want to follow up on the welcoming Anchorage. Is there any news to that? And lastly, you know, I'm really concerned, a little frustrated over the fact that because we are a committee and not a commission, we don't get the same as the commission as it relates to staffing. So we have to find someone to take the notes, and and we're already volunteering our time. And I know the commission members do the same, but I don't like hearing that we don't rise to the same level as a commission. Because I think the work that we do is even more important than the commissions that are out there that really don't have any teeth. So I just wanted to share that and get that on the record.
Thanks. So with regard to certified welcoming, I will say that Junior and I are continuing to work on certified welcoming. Our timeline, I think, is still roughly the same. We're trying to have a series of community convenings to formulate the members of the working group, and then finalize the membership of that working group, or at least the initial membership of that working group, I should say, and then call a first meeting for January, and then do all of the paperwork, initial intake, all that kind of stuff in mid-December. So we're still on that timeline as far as I know. If that changes, I'll let you know. I know that there had been some question at the last equity committee about for members of the working group about any possible stipends, and I am working that issue through Assembly Council and Assembly leadership and our budget analyst to see if that's something that is possible.
Just to follow up real quick, it's not even about the stipends. It's about paying somebody to do this work. And I just think after taking notes from the last meeting, I know Thea is really good at it. She does it all the time, but she's still doing a job. And I know she probably would not accept funding for it, but I just want to make sure that, you know, we know that this equity work is something that takes a lot of time and energy, and it's exhaustive work, and it's not like we do it for fun. And so I just didn't appreciate the fact that we, unlike commissions and some of the other groups within the municipality, they have funding to pay their folks to take notes and things, but yet within this committee, because we don't rise to that level, there is no funding for that. That's all I'm sharing. Thanks.
Mhm. Thank you both for asking and answering, and thank you, Issa and Felix, for helping me along with this process. And all right, Miss Issa.
Yeah, Felix, I just have a question about numbers. I mean, it seems like we're here and we're shocked we need 50 more beds, and we're here and we're shocked we need a warming center, and yet all the numbers seem to indicate, even as a person not sitting in every meeting, that clearly the need was going to be greater than what the capacity was. Can you re-explain to me again the process the assembly and the mayor's office is using to keep reaching numbers that do not seem realistic to the individuals experiencing homelessness in our community? And then we get 3 feet of snow and suddenly it becomes an emergency. And I know the assembly is working hard to stop getting us out of this chaos of like emergency response, but I mean, the writing is on the wall, and yet we still seem shocked every time that there's not enough beds. And I know that not everyone who's on that list is going to take a bed necessarily, or they may not take a shelter bed, but they would take a hotel. And there's of course variance to this, but that number seems so off to me from the beginning. Can you just re-explain to me the process you all use? And then what logic you use then as you continue through the rest of this winter to problem solve to make sure people are not outside dying in our streets?
Yeah, sure. So first, I will say, when it comes to warming areas, that is not shocking news. I have been asking the administration to come up with a plan for warming areas for months now, quite literally. And it wasn't until last week that I heard the administration was going to come up with a plan for warming. So I think there's separation between the shelter and then the warming, because we've been talking about that for a long time. So when it comes to shelter, essentially the methodology that was used, we were given a number of unsheltered individuals that was both confirmed multiple times by the Anchorage Health Department and the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness, of about 750 unsheltered individuals during the summer. And so we use that as a planning number for how many shelter beds we may need in terms of emergency cold weather shelter. We took that 750 and we subtracted any knowns of housing coming online or other things that are happening, natural outflow, those kinds of things, and ended up with a number of 450 that I had suggested as the number that we go with. That number, 450, was affirmed by both the Anchorage Coalition to End Homelessness and the Anchorage Health Department. At some point, the Anchorage Health Department decided to move that number down to 400. And I don't really recall what their rationale was. That's just an argument that they made. And then the Anchorage Health Department then came up with a plan, and that plan included the 2 non-congregate shelters and the 1 congregate shelter at roughly 374 and 150, I think, were the numbers. So 524, I think, if I'm doing all that math correctly, shelter beds. And then essentially what any healthy shelter system will do is it will look at the utilization rate of shelter. And once we get to like a certain peak of utilization, which for us is like around 90%, that's the number that we've been using, then we take a look at our system and we add more shelter beds to it. And so that's what we did on Tuesday. We got that 90% utilization. We added more shelter beds to it. If we achieve another 90% utilization, then we will look at adding additional shelter beds. And I've already asked the administration to please have that plan ready for us if we need to activate those additional shelter beds. And we'll see if they actually do have a plan ready. I think between the shelter beds that we have online, plus maybe an additional 50 shelter beds, plus the warming areas that we have coming online, which I'm hoping the administration will bring online at least 3 warming areas, one in downtown, one in Midtown, and possibly one in either Mountain View or Russian Jack area. So those are the 3 that I'm hoping they stand up. I think once we have all of that stood up, which should have been stood up by now, but that's not where we are, then I think we'll have a healthy system that will meet the need in our community. And then I think really next year, it's all about how we can get ourselves stood up even earlier than we have in the past. Because now it shouldn't take that long, right? We've done this now a few times. So this shouldn't be a lengthy, deliberative process. It should be, okay, copy paste. Let's reach out to the hotel, see if they're interested in doing it. Let's get a sense of the real numbers. And I think we're much more able to get a sense of the real numbers now that we've invested heavily in outreach, which is really important to get a sense of good, real data. And next year, I think we can, and hopefully by next year also, we will have a permanent year-round low barrier shelter online before October. So that'll help take away some of the stress from emergency shelter.
All righty. Thank you for the response. And I'm looking at the queue, and I think we have Thea is next.
Thank you. Felix, you just basically at the end there started to address the question I was going to ask. Before the pandemic, we used to have year-round low barrier shelter at Brother Francis. It wasn't totally adequate by any means, but it was there. And of course, Covenant House has, also met the need for year-round shelter for a long time for younger people. Can you just tell us a little bit more about getting back to year-round shelter? And I just want to say many people died this summer unsheltered. Like, I think we have this idea that people are more vulnerable in the winter. And of course, right now, yeah, okay. But lots of people died this summer. So I don't know that I feel like it's almost like this thing we tell ourselves so that we don't have to pay year round. And I know we don't have hotels in the summer, so it's harder, but I almost wish we could just get away from this idea of cold weather shelter and just have shelter that leads people to housing, and it's always there.
Yeah, thanks. So with regard to permanent year-round low barrier shelter, the clean slate strategy of the Assembly, it's a subcommittee of the Housing and Homelessness Committee. They continue to work through the process. The clean slate strategy has been, they started meeting again in October. They took a little break as the Assembly was deliberating the Tudor and Elmore Navigation Center. After that was voted down, the clean slate strategy started meeting again. And they are looking to get their final recommendations to the Assembly and to the administration on possible locations for permanent year-round low barrier shelter by early January. I think January 3rd is the meeting that we have scheduled to make our final recommendations to the Assembly and the mayor.
And just for clarity, are you saying clean state strategy or clean, what is that?
Clean slate strategy.
Slate, okay, got you. All righty. All right, we'll move to next. I think it's Heather.
Yeah, changing gears, before the last, the last meeting was just before a work session, on the issues around the April 2023 election. And I'm just wondering if there's any updates there that can be shared. I know some of it might be executive session type stuff, but specifically, are any changes to be made that might compromise equitable voting in the 2024 election?
Thanks. So I know that we have until the end of the year to make any changes to our election code. I don't sit on the Ethics and Elections Committee, but I do know that I believe we got a calendar invite scheduled today for a work session of that particular committee, probably to talk about any possible code changes that that committee will be bringing forward to the assembly. But I'm not engaged in those conversations since I'm not on that committee, so I am not sure what they have discussed.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, Taylor.
Yeah, thank you for all your answers thus far, Felix. I guess I just wanted to bring us back to homelessness briefly, and I really appreciate what Issa said about it doesn't seem like it's a surprise that we're in this place, and both the numbers never seemed like they would be enough, and what Thea called out about, I think we're at 48 people have died outdoors this year. And really just center this conversation in equity of, we know that 90% of the folks outdoors are BIPOC populations, and of those deaths, I would expect that a similar number or similar ratio there. And what is being done to ensure equitable access to shelter, both for emergency cold weather shelter, but in future shelter iterations?
Thanks. So our shelters, our emergency cold weather shelter system, there is a it's so first, I will, as I explain this, I will say that I am not a fan of what the administration and the operator did. So I will explain it of what they did do. So the Anchorage Health Department and the operator stood up a shelter waitlist call-in number that essentially folks could call in and get on the shelter waitlist. And then when it was time, they would get a call and say, hey, your bed is available. There are many issues with that, but one of the issues was that at the same time that this shelter waitlist was being populated, which, by the way, if you actually take a look at the shelter waitlist includes a lot of individuals who already have shelter, who are housed. It was not a really good data point to use. It was an unrealistic data point to use to try to say there are this many unsheltered individuals. Not the case. While that list kept getting bigger and bigger, the administration continued to go through with abatements, and during some of those abatements, especially the Third Avenue abatement, there was transportation given for folks who wanted to access shelter. So there were people getting on the list for shelter, then there were people getting abated who were able to cut the list in front of the line on the list and get shelter. Then at the same time, there were people who were wondering, why the heck am I not getting a call? I'm on this shelter wait list. And then at some point, maybe it was like a week and a half ago, the Anchorage Health Department and the operator changed the system so that you can walk into our congregate shelter and you didn't have to be on the wait list. All this to say that I think the implementation of emergency cold weather shelter was a confusing, was a bit of a mess, and it is not how I would have organized it whatsoever. But that is what the health department and the operator chose to do. I think we have for the 50 new beds that were set up, I think those beds and the system to fill those beds, in my opinion, is substantially better than the system that they set up for all of the other beds, which was essentially they're looking at the list of the vulnerability list through AKHMAS and coordinated entry and taking the most vulnerable people and putting them into shelter. And that is how they are filling those 50 new beds. And hopefully that's how they'll fill any new other additional beds that come online. That is how I think we should be doing it. Our most vulnerable populations should have, according to AKHMIS and coordinated entry, access to those beds, so that we can get them connected to services, moving on in their housing journey. And, in spite of all the negative, that is the one thing that I'm most excited about for all of this work that we're doing for emergency cold weather shelter, is really the focus for the first time ever on housing first for our emergency cold weather shelter system. And the goal, the benchmark we have of someone shouldn't stay for more than 90 days in our shelter system. At that 90-day mark, they should be moving on to whatever is next, whether that's housing or services. And that's the first time we've ever set that kind of benchmark, and looking forward to seeing how we can achieve that.
All righty. Thank you. All right, Ms. Thea.
Thanks for letting me ask again. I forgot that I also wanted to ask about the Barrett Inn, or the place formerly known as the Barrett Inn. What's the update with that?
Yeah, so there are a few wings at the Barrett Inn. One of the wings has turned on, and is full, to my understanding. Then they're hoping to slowly get on other wings of the Barrett as construction finishes, because they're still working on a few final construction pieces. And I think they're hoping next week to move some people in, and just slowly do that process until early December, when they'll have everything open.
And for those units, they are using the coordinated entry and the HMIS lists?
Yes, yes, they are using coordinated entry and HMIS for that list, and they have. It's going to probably be also a mix of extremely low-income individuals who maybe weren't unsheltered or unhoused. So it's going to be a mix of populations in there. But yes, for at least the unsheltered individuals, and especially because one of the wings is going to be reserved for the Home for Good program at the Barrett, and so they definitely did use those systems to figure out who would go into there.
All right, thanks for all the responding and what have you, and question asking. Anyone else have anything that you might want to ask at this point?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. So can you just provide the status of the public bathroom accommodations?
If you're asking about the bond, so it's a
Yeah.
bond package that the Assembly is considering putting on the ballot. We haven't voted on it yet. We'll probably vote on it. I think we're planning to vote on it in December, and then it'll go on the ballot for the voters to decide in April.
Okay, does it seem like the overall Assembly is supportive of that?
Hard for me to tell because we really haven't debated it, but if I were to guess without really knowing too much about where the other members are, I would guess yes. I think it'll probably get on the ballot.
Yeah, because I'm very supportive of that. And it's something that is needed, has been needed. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
All righty, thank you so much. I did see something come across a second ago. I think that was from Miss Jasmine, and making a notation that we're aware that the chat is not part of the official recording. And so, yeah, I'll just make that understood. All right. Any further questions for Felix? Mr. Felix, you're doing such a great job in your responding and answering, and we appreciate you in that regard. All right. If there are none other, let me say that Taffy was, I guess, got in a little late. I don't think we heard from Taffy. And Taffy, if you'd like, you can, or you let me see, yeah, you're still here with us. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and if you have any updates, we'll hear those.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Tafili Sono Toliafo. I am representing Pacific Community of Alaska. And no updates. I'm just shocked. I wanted to, I asked the question of where did they pull their list from? You know, if it's not HMIS, where did they get their list? And who was managing the list? So just sad that, you know, the homeless population continues to struggle. Well, it almost feels like there's just barriers that like we can just, you know, like we can just like tear down and create things that are needed, but like we refuse to because there's like who creates the barriers and who creates the processes. So it's just frustrating me right now. So yeah, thank you. That's me.
All righty. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm glad you guys can hear me. It appears as if my video is gone haywire, but anyway, thank you, Mr. Felix, in that regard. Then we'll move. All right, like I'm back live.
Pastor, it looked like Thea was trying to say something earlier. She had her hand up.
Okay, Miss Thea.
It was really
Go
just
ahead.
a point of information. So the link that I put in the chat, and I'll put the other link in the notes. Felix mentioned the strategic action plan for housing. And as I look at it, there's quite a few actions in here, and it's asking additionally for feedback to help prioritize the actions. So if people have time to go in and look at that and then send some feedback to the assembly, I think that would be helpful to help prioritize these actions. Just wanted to add that information there.
Righty, thank you. All righty. I was reading the full note in the chat relative to the chat itself, and it's not a part of the audio recording, and questions and comments in chat need to be read into the record. So that comment should be stated and not placed in chat. Thank you. All right, so that's a note to us in this particular setup that if we wanted something as a matter of record, then it has to be stated. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jazz, for making us aware of that. All right, and then any other questions, commentary before we move? All right, I think we've had updates from all of our committee members, updates from the assembly, and smorgasbord of questions, relative questions, and answers to those. And as we forestated, for those who may not have been a part of it, our presentation, Change Lab Legal Analysis, was unable to be a part of the meeting on today, and so hence we had extensive chats on first one thing and then another, and so we'll move forward with our wrap up time, and thank you guys so much for your participation on today. Again, we're looking forward to a session in January, and we'll get a report back from Mr. Ambervay relative to which day works best, the 20th or the 27th, as it relates to a work session from, I would say, 10 to 2-ish maybe, is kind of what we're discussing. And I think next meeting, and maybe we need to have some discussion therein, wherein would we like to refit Change Lab. I think we had set up for our December meeting to circle back to Ms. Johnson on the homelessness issue in our December meeting. And so did we want to push the change lab since we would be starting work in the new year with that? Did we want to push that to January, or how did we want, you guys think best? Any thoughts, Thea, as far as the homelessness issue following up? I think we are in the meat of that, so I think we need to keep that. So I think the best bet would be to push the change lab and start off with the new year, since we'll be working it from January to December, and start in January if we can get the change lab legal analysis set up. That's my thinking on it. Anybody have a different thought?
I agree with that.
Anyone else? All right. Not hearing anything. My next question or two would be this: do we have a volunteer for the land and labor acknowledgement for our next meeting? Any volunteer?
This is Joan. I can do it.
All right, Joan, thank you so much for that. Volunteering on that. And then the next one is pending on Miss Laura's status, since she had volunteered for this meeting and could not due to her workload and travel and what have you. And maybe she'll be available to do the note-taking minutes for our next meeting. And if that is not possible, is there a volunteer for that in case she can't?
This is Taylor. I can take notes.
All right, Taylor. All right, thank you so much. And so if Laura cannot do it on the next meeting, she said she would next. If that doesn't work out, then we have Taylor. And if Laura does it for December, then Taylor, would you be available for January?
Sounds great.
All righty. Sounds like we have a plan. All right. Thea, you were about to say something?
Nope,
Oh,
Zach, you're just reading my mind.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, out of the mouth of two or three witnesses, everything is established. All right. Thank you. Anyone else have anything you want to identify for questions to forward to the assembly or actions to be completed before next meeting? I think we kind of went through the actions that we need to complete for the meeting, and nobody's expressed anything to forward to the assembly question-wise or items. And if there's nothing, then do we have any audience participation? And I don't think we have anyone in the meeting that's not a part of the meeting, and would like to acknowledge again the legal presence, Mr. Hurt, Matthew Hurt. Thank you for being a part of the meeting as well. And if there's nothing else, all righty. What was that? Was that a response? I thought I heard somebody
Yeah, I was
saying
just
something. Okay, all righty.
And it was me also. I just wanted to say it's Transgender Awareness Week. So, yes, love yourself and just share love. Happy Transgender Awareness Week. And then Transgender Day of Remembrance is going to be November 20th, which is next week, Monday. I know that Identity is having an event, so come out and support. Thanks.
All right, Taffy, thank you for the update. And anyone else have something you thought of that you might want to update briefly? All right, if not, then I would say happy Thanksgiving to all of you, and be safe on the roads and the streets and all of that, and have a great Thanksgiving celebration this ensuing week. And whatever you do, remember to give some thanks. All right. I say God bless to one and to all. And if there's nothing else, we'll move for adjournment.
Thanks so much,
Anybody?
Pastor May.
Well, thank you, Miss Thea. All right. If there's nothing else, then we'll conclude our meeting. And blessings to all. Be safe.
See you all next month.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.